Hey there, my fellow lunatics, and welcome to Dakon's Madhouse.
Hey there, lunatics. Recently, Corekeeper came out with a brand new mage staff known as the Noxious Meteor staff. And so in celebration of this new staff, I decided to build a mid-level character around this staff. Now, is this going to be the most powerful mage build? No. Can you mix and match a lot of stuff with it to make it work? Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to use this exact build. This is very versatile. But this is what I came up with and what I was happy with. So let's go ahead and take a look. So first things first, we have got the Noxious Meteor staff, which is the weapon that this whole thing is built around. And it has a chance to apply poison on hit, and acts very similar to the corrupted meteor staff that you can see in Endgame. This staff drops off of Ivy as well as some of the various slime destructibles in Azios's wilderness. Now, can you use other staffs for this build? Sure, you could use the Scholar staff if you want. You could even use the Arcane staff, but since the build is focused around this meteor staff, that's what we're going to focus on. The main set of armor for this build is the Sorcerer set, and we've got the Sorcerer's Hood, the Sorcerer's Robe, and the Sorcerer Pants. All of these items drop off of Blue Slimes, Caveling Scholars, Core Sentries, or Morpha. So essentially you can find these in the Metropolis areas of the Sunken Sea. Next we've got the Pearl Lantern, which is craftable at the Octarine Workbench. And this provides us with some mana regeneration, which is the biggest boost for it. For our next slot, we have got the Copper Cross Necklace, which provides a boost to our critical hit chance. Now I've leveled this up to level 13. In my offhand, I also have the Blue Leather Tome for the magic damage and the mana regen, and I have leveled this up to level 13 as well. The Blue Leather Tome can be crafted at the Malagaz statue. For my first ring, I have got the Polished Glow Tulip ring, and this is craftable at the Jewelry Workbench, provided that your crafting skill is at least 85, and you have the ability to make polished rings. I'm also using a Mold ring, which provides a boost to my critical hit chance, and these can be found in the Mold dungeon. And the Mold ring I have also leveled up to 13. For my bag slot, I'm using the Octarine backpack, as it provides a boost to my magical barrier and has 20 slots right off the bat. This is craftable at the Octarine Workbench. When it comes to pets, I personally recommend the Arcane Symbiote because the skills that it offers are really synergetic with the Mage build. You can get the Mana Bowl skill, which will improve your mana regeneration, or you can get a skill that improves the amount of magic damage that you do. Regardless of what skills you use, the magic barrier and the mana regeneration boosts of the Arcane Symbiote are extremely useful and absolutely worth having. You can get the Arcane Symbiote in Azios's wilderness in the Cicada Burrows. You just need a little bit of hardened sap and a little bit of luck. Since this is the mid-game, I don't expect anyone to have really any skills maxed out, though your odds of having your running tree and your crafting tree maxed out by this point are extremely high, so I've gone ahead and left these maxed on this character. Skills that matter for this build: if you're able to spend some time training your ranged, getting amplified precision at the very end for the boost to crit damage is really, really helpful. Though I wouldn't necessarily expect you to have done this, especially if your focus is on magic. However, if you get a second, do spend some time, work on your range skill, even if you're not using it, just so that you can get your hands on this amplified precision skill. It is absolutely worth it for this build. On the gardening tree, I also don't expect you to have the skill maxed out. However, if you can max it out, that also is really, really helpful for this build because you really want thorny weapons for the extra 25% critical hit damage, but you also really want potent poison for the extra damage against poison targets, since your targets will be poisoned because of the Noxious Staff's ability. If you don't have a maxed out gardening skill, focus on thorny weapons first, and then go for potent poison. In the magic tree, I went down the left-hand side for mana channeling to improve my mana regen. I also grabbed Arcane Frenzy for a boost to my magic damage on a critical hit, since we are going to be critting a lot in this build. When you have the ability to, you're also going to want to grab the best offense, and eventually you're going to want to pick up Fully Charged. When it comes to buff foods, I use all the same buff foods in mid-game that I do for my late-game builds, only I'm using the rare versions, not the epic versions, because, again, I'm assuming that you don't have regular access to lots of golden crops, and you may not have your cooking high enough to regularly get epic foods. But if you want to go over the details of exactly what foods I'm using, check out my endgame food video, as it will give you everything that you need to buff up your character. Overall, I think this is a really good exploration build, as it handles groups very well, and once you get the hang of the targeting, it handles moving enemies pretty easily also. You just have to aim a little differently than you normally would. I think that this build struggles a little on bosses because of its extremely slow attack speed, but it will do well on crowd control for those bosses. I think you'll struggle on some fights like Igneous, where the healing orbs are coming out a little too fast for this staff to keep up with. But it does really well on bosses that have lots of adds, like Ivy or potentially Morpha. And it also can do really well on bosses that don't move around very quickly, like Omeroth, for example, or even Raw Car. I was able to use this build to defeat several bosses, even on hard mode, but again, I think that this build does better against general mobs than it does against the various bosses. You will find yourself pretty safe, I feel, when you're just roaming around with this build, as it nukes entire groups of creatures at once, and is pretty effective against your average mob. That being said, the build does work against bosses even in hard mode, as I do all my boss kills in hard mode, and I was still able to take down most of the mid-game bosses. Although I do admit I did struggle on several of them. Like the Atlantean Worm, I found almost impossible. Just don't try it with this build. You want a faster weapon. Maybe replace the Noxious Staff with the Arcane Staff, and otherwise keep the build the same when you're doing that boss. But that's really all you need to do. You could keep the same overall build and just swap the weapon out on certain bosses where you need a faster attack speed or a more direct attack speed, like that caused by the Scholar Staff, the Fireball Staff, or the Arcane Staff. Overall, I think this is a pretty decent build, although it doesn't rank among my favorites. I definitely think it is a fun and rather creative little build, just to take advantage of this brand new staff that we've got. So give it a try yourself. Tell me what you think about it. Tell me how you modified this build to specifically fit your needs and your play style. Leave a comment below, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want to add some extra support, you can join the channel and become a member. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay crazy.